Welcome to the Radical Dudes podcast, where three radical dudes talk about radical political figures and the writings that they have. Today, we're going to be talking about Valerie Solanas or something. I can't really say her name in particular. It's a little bit wonky. We're going to be looking over her manifesto, the SCUM Manifesto. Joining us today are your regular podcast hosts, Aaron.
Which, that's
is me, yeah, so the next is you say the name.
Oh, okay. I'm Raymond. Hi.
And I'm Chris.
Yeah, just so you get the names. So a little bit about Valerie Valerie Sol is what I'm going to call her for right now.
Gal, you know, she's Valerie, dude.
Val. That's a comfy name. That's a chill name, right?
I feel like we'd be friends.
I think I could be friends with Val. Yeah.
I have some theories, but go.
Yeah. I think I could be friends with the person that names their manifesto "The Society Cutting Up Men" or whatever it is. But Val was a feminist, political radical, author, poet, and sex worker. She was born in the 50s, I believe, and was a troubled child who then went on to live with her grandparents, where she was actually sexually assaulted by her grandfather on multiple occasions. She then went to college and then moved to New York to try and make it as a playwright, an author, an artist, that sort of thing, but was forced to go and panhandle and do sex work for money, essentially. There, she started her writings and wrote the SCUM Manifesto, and then eventually, over a falling out with Andy Warhol over a script that she believed that he had lost, she ended up shooting him. Luckily, Andy Warhol lived, and the SCUM Manifesto then rose into the public eye because of the acts that she did. Now, the SCUM Manifesto is one of the only manifestos that I have at least had mentioned in a class. I took a women's studies class, and I remember seeing that being written there was the SCUM Manifesto, and they kind of summarized what it's about. You know, I've never read fucking Ted Kaczynski in a fucking forestry class or something like that.
I feel like he'd be a good one to have.
It would be, but I don't know. I think because he actually enacted political violence, like, they're not going to bring him up. But maybe they would. I mean, then again, college is always... Cowards.
Liberal college bullshit.
That is liberal college bullshit.
Really, yeah.
Not able to talk about domestic terrorists in a potentially positive light.
Although I think when 9/11
fucking tear down the safe space, man. That's all I'm saying.
They talked about Osama bin Laden in not a positive light, but it does, his reasoning makes sense or whatever, we do fuck.
Honestly, teaching that more than the SCUM Manifesto, at least in current times, would probably be more progressive.
Because the SCUM Manifesto just comes off as
well, it's 100% fucking turf manifesto.
It is turf
for sure. It's
oh
turf
yeah,
as fuck.
it's this.
So Val's canceled.
Val's canceled. Val, that's not chill. Now you're Valerie again. You've lost the right to be chill.
You can't see the air quotes, but okay, Valerie. But yeah, very biologically essentialist.
Yep.
In bizarre ways and real funny.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
Yeah, it's a blast. I think 19-year-old me would have read it and been like, "This is dumb."
It's like if fucking Shaggy from Scooby-Doo was a turf and decided to write.
Oh yeah, because all the groovies.
Okay, I was going to say where is he going with this?
Yeah.
But because it's just the time she lived.
Yeah,
she was born in 36. I was looking that up.
Okay.
So she was a youngin. She was a youngin in the 60s with the groovy times.
Yeah.
Would have been, what is that, 24 in 1960?
Something like that. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I can do math. If I can't, whoops.
Oh, maybe more like 30, because he said with 35.
30. She's born in 36.
36, so she was 32. Or 31, because the SCUM Manifesto was 1967.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so she had come out of the 60s,
yeah,
right? So groovy was just a term of saying
she mentions hippies too.
Yeah, she hates hippies.
Yeah,
dude, that was one of the funniest parts of the fucking thing, where she's like, they're a little better than regular men, but all they want to do, the thing that hippie commune life revolves around is the gangbang. I was like, what hippie commune did you fucking go to?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think when...
The cool one in the 60s, that's the one that she went to. The one that prioritizes pussy over everything.
That's really what we've got to do as a society, I think.
Just communes.
Prioritize pussy.
Prioritize pussy.
That's what Val wants us to do.
Uh-huh.
Well, actually, Val wants us all to die. But
well, hey,
other than that,
yeah. Well, the hippie shit was kind of funny because it's like also she has this weird individualist kick too, which was very strange.
Yeah, of like society can only be made up of individuals respecting one another's like privacy and distance.
Yeah.
And she had a lot of like, do not touch me, do not talk to me, please leave me alone. Also, I like women, but I don't ever want to have sex because sex is gross.
Yeah.
Like, she has such a weird mix of being like prickly and shitty and like distancing and also very alone and sad.
It's hard to tell when she's being serious or like at least something showing up that she actually believes, and when she's just kind of like either one satirizing like how men like how
she grabs the whole Freud thing and just turns it around.
Yep, I mean
right?
the second line in the book is basically saying that men are a mistake. You know, they're just like not corrupted, but like
they're incomplete females,
which is what like some fucking Greek philosopher said.
Yeah,
too.
that was fucking probably Aristotle, maybe Plato, probably Aristotle.
Yeah,
and then Freud said the same.
Oh, did he?
Thing.
Yeah. So yeah, looking at like Freud and whatnot and turning it on its head. But then you get on the weird biological essentialist shit. I'm like, oh yeah, she probably believes that shit. She probably like.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with somebody who's this level of like super radical is like I don't know at what point it becomes like, you know, like when Nazis make Nazi jokes and like it's delivered with humor,
but it's
probably like they're still into it. And so it's like it's hard to tell with her if she's like, haha, lol, kill all men because men are inferior, and then she's like, well, I don't think they're exactly inferior in the ways that I'm saying, but, you know, it has that kind of like, ooh.
Yeah, but like nothing came about it. I don't think she was serious about like having this like fucking group that was actually gonna like kill a bunch of people. She might have, she might have wanted that. She's a very angry person and definitely a misandrist. Like definitely fucking hated men.
For sure.
And could only, you know, as she said in the book, she could only really stand the company of like gay men and stuff like that, which is probably why she was actually, so she was like not friends but around Andy Warhol a lot. So like, and I believe Andy Warhol is gay. So like you could
look that up.
Yeah,
I'm the show fact checker.
Let's check it. But yeah, because like, you know, she was sexually assaulted when she was young, would constantly like fucking shit talk dudes and whatnot, protect, you know, call out shitty dudes too. But then it was also a prostitute too. So like obviously if you're a fucking prostitute in like 60s era New York, it's not going to be a fun time at all. Like that's one of the worst times to be a prostitute. It's like 60s New York or whatever. So like she's seeing a lot of shitty men. So I get why she and whatnot to a certain extent.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, she has zero good examples of.
See, all she really needed was like Robert De Niro and Taxi Driver to kill her pimp.
She was
and
a
then she would have never
worker.
had written the SCUM Manifesto.
Well, that's at least a little better.
Yeah.
She did that shit.
Oh, she was?
Yeah, because she was a beggar, and then she also did sex work too, from what I was reading. So that's how she kind of.
Yeah, Andy Warhol was gay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. If Taxi Driver fucking killed her pimp, she'd probably just
be a normal person.
No, I was gonna say she'd probably just hate him and be like, "Wow, you just want to fuck me too." That's kind of what it is in Taxi Driver as well.
That's all they want. That's all men want, right?
Well, I mean, in Taxi Driver, they're just trying to fuck 14-year-old Jodie Foster.
Taxi Driver. Well, I don't know if he wants to fuck Jodie Foster. I mean, in that movie, I feel like it's just a guy trying to find purpose, and like nobody's really showing him a light. Like you got Wizard, who like kind of goes like, "Oh, just whatever, it gets better, man." And he's like, "Oh fuck, like it's not getting better. Like I hate this. Like, you know, I tried to get a girl that didn't work out. She didn't understand me, and you don't understand me. Nobody gets me. How the fuck do I make myself feel better?"
Yeah, well, and sort of like his, right, because that movie's kind of about like isolation and radicalization.
You could probably say it's kind of similar with,
and like because she goes through that. Like everyone he ever meets in the story is like just a fucking shitty example of a human being.
Yeah.
Basically, every time they either do nothing for him or they make his life worse.
Yeah.
And all the good people get taken away. And so like I don't know, she kind of with that like sexually abused by her parents, goes to live with her grandparents where she's sexually abused again. Then she, you know, goes to fucking support herself in college and just gets fucked over again. And then she's like,
and then she gets fucked over by Andy Warhol because like she gives him her script Up Your Ass or something like that, which is basically just from what I read from the premise, it's about a hooker who I forget exactly what she does, but it's like, oh, this is just like an insert kind of like semi autobiography sort of thing.
Okay.
In the premise. But yeah, then she gets fucked over by Andy Warhol. It's like, all I've ever done has been fucked over by men, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised that, you know, I don't know, she never went on I'm a little let down. Never went on a man-killing rampage. Yeah. Right? Like she has, you know, all of the life fucking radicalization shit that you could have with your Elliot Rodger types, but just didn't ever fully crack.
Yeah, thinking about like this manifesto and like the Elliot Rodger manifesto, the Elliot Rodger one, like he mainly just goes over his fucking life, and like no manifesto really does that much. Like every other
he's just completely self-absorbed and doesn't even think he has like prescriptions for the world. Yeah. He's just like, I'm really mad.
Although she had a similar thing with like, you know, Elliot Rodger's view of the future, like a perfect future, is like women are like just there to be like used as breeding pigs and whatnot, essentially. And that's kind of like her thing for like men until they're all wiped out, essentially. It's like,
well, she was like, now that we can, so she believes, this is the weird thing for me, was that she seems to believe that like we've found a cure for cancer already. Like there's enough data out there that we've got cures for everything. Death is curable. The meaning to life is knowable, and men are keeping us from it. And that's one where I'm like, okay, is this one of those satire-y points, or are you that conspiratorial? Like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, And
then we can reproduce without men and women now? And
well, we kind of can. You can. I think it's with bone marrow. You can get DNA from one woman and basically in vitro fertilize another woman. So you theoretically can reproduce without men. We're not there with doing it without women yet, but... You know.
Okay, but either way, she already thinks that like automation can do this sort of shit.
You know, she in the fucking like 60s or 70s, she was like, oh, we would have been able to automate everything forever ago, and it's like we're still not there.
Yeah,
and not for lack of trying.
Although I will agree with her that it's like, yeah, it'll be sick when it's all automated and you can just do your own creative shit. It's all creative work instead of like the she has that utopian sort of Star Trek sort of shit, and I'm like, I'm down for that. I'm down for at least shooting for that. You know?
Yeah, I'm trying not to like. I don't know. That sort of like men work tirelessly, constantly at stupid, pointless jobs because they're whatever chasing some kind of fake goal.
Yeah,
and you're like, it's this is like, and I think
which was very Ted Kaczynski.
In our last radical, writing. Watched the last episode or 2 episodes ago for that one. Don't watch the last episode. So. Basically, just that the formula seems to be find a systemic, real problem that you can observe that doesn't have a really easy answer for why it's a problem. Pick your favorite scapegoat and just make every instance of that somehow a different instance of that scapegoat being the problem, and you've got a manifesto.
Well, unlike fucking like Stone Toss or like Nick Fuentes or something like that, she could be like, oh, I was just memeing there. I was just joking.
Well, yeah, no, with how fucking weird and ironic she is in a lot of this, like... She could just be joking with a ton of it. But like, I don't know,
man. She's against my whole doomer lifestyle where I want to be sad and listen to the Smiths and smoke cigarettes and then fulfill myself through sex in every single way. So I'm against her.
Well, you're doing your thing, man. No, you are a good male because you're smoking cigarettes. You're killing yourself quicker. So like, according to her... You're good,
and you're focused on pointless shit like art.
Like art,
Well, I think she said great art.
Great art, yeah. She has a problem. Which I think that was actually a joke. I think with the great art shit, it's just her being like, "Fuck you."
Like, everyone has to pretend to like great art because it sucks and it's boring.
Yeah.
While real fun stuff, which I'm not going to really get into, doesn't get any appreciation.
Yeah, that was just her being like, "Fuck the status quo, fuck you," that sort of thing.
Yeah, there is a lot of that. Just like whatever is the main thing right now. Fuck you.
Yeah. And I like her thought, too, that like men fuck women because they want to be like women. And also because they can't deal with their emotions. So, like, they just do that. They fuck.
Well, yeah, and that's one of those ones where it's like it's completely unprovable, positively or negatively.
Yeah.
It's just like an assertion. She just goes like, well...
men are like this, women are like that.
Yeah, men all are really insecure about not being women, and everything they do is to try and either be women or to hate themselves and find a good reason why. That's why they created philosophy. That's why they created society, was to try and just like make themselves feel less bad about their shortcomings.
Yeah, if you're not like literally the way she comes off to is almost like the parody of like when you see when they see like a feminist like study group and it's all just women talking about their feelings and crying, that's like essentially what she's kind of implying too, that like that's what women do, is they always talk about their emotions. They're emotionally vulnerable because men aren't.
Like, and because men are incapable of. I don't think if you take it at face value and this is like how she actually thinks, then by this, like, men can't have internal thoughts.
Oh, that's what he says. They're animalistic.
Yeah,
they just go off. They just go off a feeling. That's
which
all
is exactly. So there's a medieval text called the Maleficarum, which is the Hammer of Witches.
Yeah.
And it's a fucking awesome read. It holds up pretty well. It's one of the like classic witch hunting texts, and the two authors basically just go on for pages about how evil women are, how women are all basically witches, and how women all are so ready to fuck the devil that they'll cut your dick off and they'll keep it in a box and it'll still be alive so they can torture it and like,
hell yeah,
it's awesome shit. But like the way that old-timey men, and this was just regular accepted fucking men writers. This was not a radical manifesto.
This was like Mike Cernovich, like reading.
Yeah, this was a textbook on how to find and kill witches.
Yeah.
Right, so like that would be like today's, whatever, fucking some kind of sociological like guide that we would give to like the CIA to like profile people or something.
Oh, speaking of the CIA, I mean that's like how she thought, like that's how we're going to take down society, is that you're going to go into these organizations and just fuck up your job, just be a shitty worker.
I love that.
That was great. That was good.
Dude, that's my favorite fucking like FBI, CIA tactic is just like infiltrate and be a shitty ally. Be
a stick in the cog of the machine.
Yeah. But that, like, the way she's basically just taking that old-timey, like, weird ultra fixation on the psychology of women and how it makes them bad and just flipping it around. Right, which is like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, I get the joke. It's a more abrasive version of, I forget the lady's first name, but a sociologist named Gilman. She wrote essentially that like the men are actually supposed to be in the the primary caregivers for children and whatnot because of their biological senses and what, I forget exactly what the reasoning is, but they're
bigger, they can hold more.
Well, they're tougher or something. Yeah, they can hold more. They're tougher, so their
beards comfort.
Yeah, their beards comfort
children. I don't know, but like
beards are better than boobies.
I think it's that sort of like you can just take anything, and if you add enough weird descriptors or academicization.
Well, she also did something that was similar to Valerie too, where it was she talked about how like the reason men and women, the reason we have the social positions that we do is because it was needed in the past, because men were antisocial, and so women and children were needed there to socialize the men, so the men would stop fighting each other and they would beat the women and children instead, or focusing them essentially.
That seems to think that men existed before women and children.
Yeah, it's not. It's
right.
It's,
like that's one of those like. Wait a minute.
It's very funky. This is early sociology.
How far can we run that back before it stops making sense? And like that sort of...
Well, Christianity too, right? Probably from that sort of standpoint.
Well, Adam was in the garden and he just keep beating the shit out of animals like the whole time, and so God
was fighting all the animals.
I'll make Eve.
There's a secret biblical text that talks about Adam's drinking problems and beating up the kids.
He would eat the fermented apples that fell from the tree and get in fights with the goats and stuff.
Yeah.
And then God was like, "You need to get laid, buddy."
Yeah. After the fucking goats lost the football match to the horses, he just would beat his wife after his team lost.
What? Come on. All those Garden of Eden hijinks probably just...
Yeah, they're playing like football. They're playing Godball or whatever.
Godball.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, I was thinking too, she has that sort of like end of history type of thing where she's like, back in the day we used to create philosophy and politics and history, but like my movement, my utopia, like we're going to be past that basically. Yeah. I think she thinks of herself as like apolitical almost, or not apolitical like in the sense of like she doesn't have a current political agenda, but that like her like ultimate beliefs are like just a fact of nature. Right? Like she has that sort of style where she's like, there's a little section she talks about like the creation of philosophy and like men using philosophy. And like anything, the hard part, because philosophy just describes like people trying to figure human problems out, basically. So you can never be beyond philosophy, and you can't just be outside of philosophy, because that's just a different philosophy.
Well, I mean, that's one of her things, though, is like, she kind of has a Ted Kaczynski-esque sort of end goal, but with technology, it's automation, right? Like, they're getting all the shit. He's like, she still wants individualism and whatnot, so, but she doesn't really want people talking to each other or whatnot, it seems.
Yeah, and it seems like she doesn't have the, like, I don't know, a kind of grasp on, like, that there was anyone before her that was like a thinker in the direction she wants, or that there's any kind of movement happening. Like, she just feels
she has this like weird idea where like she believes that like we'd be living in the Jetsons if it was just like all women.
It's
right
literally, well, it's,
you know, whereas
and there are totally people who talk like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people's, mine included, my mom is sometimes like guilty of that type of talking of like, man, men just fight with each other. If it was just women, we would just be working together.
Well, it's literally that fucking parody where like women are in togas and they're all they're coming together and making utopia and whatnot.
Yeah, and the men are Lord of the Flies, and they're just eating each other's shit and fighting each other and like
farting on each other's mouths, you know. That
yeah,
sort of thing.
and just killing themselves for fun. Yeah. They don't know that you die when you kill yourself. Like, you know, just man stuff.
Yeah, that's I did that the other day, dude. Luckily, I got revived, man.
Yeah, dude. Otherwise, it'd be pretty fucked. Thanks, women.
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be a society without any hijinks. Fucking not worth it.
Yeah, no, like they always depict the women's society like it's gonna be this fucking awesome. Like everyone's got flowers in their hair, and they're all super peaceful, and everything's nice. Usually, that's made by male authors in like a weird patronizing kind of way.
Yeah,
but like, I guess she bought in.
Again, if you're like a TERF, you also kind of believe that shit. Use that flowery language of like the magic of your pussy and shit like that. She uses specifically.
I hate that shit.
She specifically says like when men are gone or something along those lines. When we're doing it, it'll be magical. We'll create magical things because men, you know, what they're biologists and they're scientists, make nukes and everything.
Yeah, because men don't focus on the biological science.
She's a heavy.
She's a heavy what?
Yeah, she's a heavy fedora tipper.
Yeah.
She's a heavy fedora tipper. Or like 100%, just like the female equivalent.
She's the femme cell for sure.
The femme cell, hell yeah.
Oh,
I could see that. I mean,
like that whole part where she was talking about how like men and men can't have sex and women and men can't have sex and women right now can't even have sex because there's no respect, and I would respect everybody.
Well, her thing is that like women and women can have sex, but they can't have the male outlook on life. So like you basically have to be a woman raised by women or to reject what...
Yeah, before anyone's allowed to have sex, you have to live in an entirely female society. Yeah. And like she also has that like she's like actually if you just like focus really hard, it's really easy to just erase your sexuality. And it's like, okay, for someone who was just basically like reverse quoting Freud, you should know a little about like repressed sexuality and that like you're for sure just repressing yourself.
Yeah, but I think that's also just that might be another kind of jokey thing, because I think she does believe that there are women that are, you know, that are following the system, right? They're following what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, she always calls them like daddy's little girl.
Daddy's little girl.
Yeah, she's all the daddy's little girls. That's the Chads of this world.
Yeah.
Right, is her like all the daddy's little girls who are so impressed with what men do.
Yeah.
And they think men are cool. I'm cool too, okay? Look at me. Like it's that's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's simultaneously like a good mockery, but then also like it shows her own insecurities in a way, which is
it feels very insecure.
Yeah.
And like I also was thinking this too, like when I was reading the Unabomber Manifesto, I pretty much jumped right in like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? But like, and then with this one, my knee-jerk response was like, let's tear it up. I bet it's stupid. And like, you know,
well, that's
I think
because you got latent misogynist.
I think there is something to that of being like, you find a manifesto that says you and people like you ought to be fucking dead because you're like genetically inferior. And yeah, you have a little like that response of like, wait, it's probably stupid, right? It's probably not real. It's probably not very accurate. And then, you know, trying to, because like, I stop myself, because I take notes while I'm reading these. And, like, I stopped myself kind of a little bit of the way through and was thinking, like, oh, yeah. My response with this one was much more... Because, like, with the other one, I started out shitting on it. Where I was like, haha, it's dumb, dude. He's talking about leftists. He doesn't know about nothing. And then eventually I was like, he's pretty cool. And so it makes me wonder if I'm like gonna be like, she's all right. Like I don't know.
Well, she comes out the gates just saying like some wackadoo shit, and then once you kind of get through it, it's like, like I already kind of knew it. Like I've read some of the stuff. I kind of knew about her before. Like I said, it came up in like my women's studies class, and when I was 19, I was like, what's the fucking point of writing this or whatever? And then I read it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is just a big fucking troll. Like for the most part, It's,
yeah.
And the initial part, I'm just like, this is kind of stupid. But then I'm like, it's so crazy that it's like of itself. Like it's so cartoonishly like misandrist that like it's just funny. I think I don't think it's necessarily misogynist that like you come into it and you're already like, this is fucking stupid, because that's the tone she takes is a very like, she uses the term groovy, and there was some other like hippie
just a product of the time, I think.
But like, that's still like the slang of the time.
I like the part where she was well, she's got that one part where she's like, we'll allow some men, but every time we allow them in,
that shit was hilarious.
That's
funny. It'll be cool to hang out for a while.
But her saying like groovy and shit is like if somebody was writing a manifesto and said all the lit people, all the the era of the 80s, all the turned on people, that sort of shit. Like it's very casual in the way they present it. So like,
and she has a few of that, just like then the sort of language of like. We're gonna have. I think she at one point get our asses in gear. There was like a few other like little turns of phrase like that, but I don't know. Yeah, my like knee jerk response was like, she's probably a fucking idiot. Which like
some of that bleeds through, and some of it is kind of dumb. But then there's other stuff.
Yeah, but like honestly, I think she's. I don't know. I can't say she's being like thoughtful, because this is not exactly thoughtful.
There's things you can pick out, like the things about like how society impacts like how women act and whatnot.
It seems like she's taking the general societal critique of like, okay, the suburbs are atomizing people too much, and like nobody is communicating, and like we've always had kind of a problem with people. She talks about like, and this was in the fucking Unabomber Manifesto too, but that like the pursuit of like extreme wealth to the ignoring everything else. In this one, she's like, guys are just trying to compete to have like the maximum number of women, even though they can't fucking do anything with that. And then it was like, it's a surrogate activity that makes you feel like you're really good at hunter gathering.
Yeah,
because you're gathering wealth.
Yeah, and she's basically like anything created by men has been a surrogate activity for the most part, right?
Yeah,
the wealth is a surrogate activity, and she explains in the joke, it's like, oh, you have $1 trillion, so you invest another $1 trillion to get $300 trillion. Why do you need that? And it's like, that's very true. It's a very basic critique of capitalism.
Yeah, well, they so often feel like critiques of capitalism or critiques of like kind of liberal capitalist Western culture stuff, and it's like. But instead of being like, well, let's analyze why that works that way, it's like, it's men.
It's men.
And it's men
tech.
by nature. Or like it's the existence of technology. And I feel like the existence of technology maybe holds up a little better than it's men by nature.
Yeah.
But...
Well, that's the problem, too, is that they're both, like, biological essentialists, essentially. So they're not really looking at the social system. They're just going, like... This is just bad because it's human nature for these things to happen and whatnot.
Yeah, they look at the way everything played out as like, that's the only way it could have gone. Yeah. Like nothing could have been changed.
Yeah.
She also is very Eurocentric in her, like the way she talks about like the history of men and women relations and stuff like that. Everything is all about like how in the pretty much the last like maybe 20 years, men and women in America have been... treating each other, right? There's not like some kind of analysis of like, how do people in the rest of the world deal with gender relationships?
I think it's just like, it's just like this sort of punk fucking writing where it's just like, fuck the world, fuck the fucking government, fuck the system, fuck it all, fuck your what was it your respectability and being nice and whatnot, fuck you, it sucks, like that's all it is, just anger. She's always focusing on because she's a white woman in a European or not, a Western country, so it's going to be Eurocentric
country,
and especially when she's...
For me right now, like reading this is really good because like she starts at the cultural point of like the 1920s and then like is like there's been such degrading for women like ever since then, and I'm currently in like a families and society class that I'm taking, so I'm reading about like Greek generals and philosophers who are like, women, we fucking hate those. We should all just have sex with the boy soldiers. Like, that's how we truly love each other, is the boy soldiers. That's a true relationship.
So she's actually like speaking truth to power.
There you go.
Dude's
I was going to say, I mean, that's, a lot of that kind of stuff is like, and this really happens super hardcore with people who think of themselves as like a complete individual, right? Like they're an island. Is that they end up saying the same exact shit somebody said 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And like that kind of like, there's a great, like, it's like kids these days don't respect their elders. They you know, are staying up too late and they're too loud and they don't even, and there was like a Socrates quote from fucking thousands of years ago of being like, well, kids these days, it's going to be the downfall of civilization.
Yeah, it's constant. You know? It keeps coming back.
Yeah, it's just a boomer thing. Boomers are
the problem.
From time immemorial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's losing your perspective or not having it yet.
Yeah.
And I think she kind of has that, like, it feels like she has not, I don't know, been through the feminist scholarship, I guess, or like doesn't
she went
listen to it.
To college.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. It's possible. I mean,
she could have just, I guess, disagreed and been like,
well, it's
no.
also second wave feminism, which is, this was like the par for the course sort of mentality. It was the turfy, women are this way, men are that way sort of shit. Or was it third wave, though?
I think, well, third wave's right now.
No, we're supposed to be fourth wave. I don't know. They always
this manifesto.
This is definitely second wave.
Yeah, it's all about the nature of the woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the 60s and 70s, that's second wave.
It's par for like what the time is. It says it in such a explosive way, essentially.
Yeah.
Like she's saying the same
she's
shit that
the
like
Seth Putnam.
It's Seth Putnam to Gloria Steinem's fucking Billy Joel Armstrong. You know.
Wow. That is two very different ends of.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe not Seth Putnam. I guess I don't know. Maybe.
Well, just in that she's the most abrasive and like fuck you.
Yeah.
Right, just like she knows how to make people fucking mad. It makes me think like the fucking movie Stepford Wives is still like kind of controversial seeming today.
Yeah.
Because like all of the men are bad. And like they are just fucking over the women, and it's like, why? And it's like, well, they're fucking men. Fuck you. And like that's the whole movie.
Well, I mean, it's not even just that. I mean, the guy is influenced by the other guys. Like he's influenced by
male culture, and I think Stepford Wives is more intelligently made than this one.
Yeah, because that one attacks the system. The system's run by these dudes. The guy gets into the system, gets influenced by what is thematically basically like the patriarchy or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, he gets indoctrinated by the system. It's not that he was inherently bad, because he obviously fucking loved his wife before. Then suddenly guys are pointing out, hey man. Like,
and he was like like they were both pretty much like respecting each other as individuals earlier, and then it turns into that sort of like. He starts to go like more and more like, why aren't you like all the other girls?
Yeah.
And like it breaks it down more and more. Where like, I guess for this manifesto, it's like it leaves no wiggle room. And I think that's just a manifesto thing, right?
Yeah.
You gotta have some pretty strong, specific opinions to write a manifesto in the first place. Yeah. You can't just like go like, well, it seems like systemically, like that just feels more like some kind of essay.
Yeah.
You want it to be a manifesto.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got to be like from time immemorial, men have totally sucked, dude. And women, they're all right.
Well, I think like Karl Marx in fucking the Communist Manifesto, I think he explains how society has moved. That he says that like feudalism was a thing before. Now we used to have ancient society and. That sort of shit, and then we had feudalism. And then we had capitalism.
That's the hard part. Is like he didn't know that much about history, so like feudalism and like his whole like ancient societies, like people in the 1800s didn't have a great grasp on like economically how that stuff worked either. But like I think the analysis is okay. Of like his current surroundings, but like that sort of like. Well, it's all been one big progression. Yeah, is very like Enlightenment. Yeah,
everything built with the modernist perspective.
Yeah,
But that's
so. Wait, I'm taking a lot of like classes right now besides for this, so I wasn't able to read too deeply.
Congratulations!
Exactly. I'm getting an education, so take that, all you listeners listening to Joe Rogan, that sexist piece of shit.
Well, Joe Rogan is an education. Welcome on the show.
Joe Rogan University.
If Joe Rogan wrote a manifesto, I would love that so much. That would be like...
Dude, there'd be so many contradictions.
It would just be event.
But is it? In a part of this manifesto, is there a point where she actually is accepting of sex between women, and like that's a point of society, or is that just like completely taken out of it?
Yeah, basically, it's like if women are acting like women, like they're supposed to be, they're not like corrupted like by the being daddy's girl or whatnot. Then
so they're able to like
essentially
get their education and then go.
So do you think she
fuck.
even believes that like lesbians are a thing?
Well, she was a lesbian.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, just like attraction, right? So she's like, well, women having sex with women is going to be great, and it's like, but does she think that like once you remove all the men, women will just become
like my whole
lesbians?
armchair psychologist theory on this is that she's just a deeply asexual person and just has hated sex from the very go and like have never had
definitely
any sort of...
early. I mean, yeah, she might. I mean, you might be able to put that in if she idealized, like lesbian sex because she just didn't have it, or she was like trying to pursue like she's like trying as hard as she can to like sex.
That's what we got to confirm next time. Is she a femcel or not? We got to figure that out.
Yeah. I don't know if she fucked.
Yeah, she fucked, but she didn't.
Yeah, I don't know if she fucked.
But
for
like
fun.
throughout the entire book, it seems like she doesn't like
had a good
any
time.
form of sex whatsoever, and she like just wants people to be nice to each other.
I put the quote down,
or just wants women to be.
Yeah,
nice
she
to
said
each other.
you've got to go through a lot of sex to get to anti-sex. And SCUM's been through it all.
Hell yeah, dude.
But no, dude, my other favorite fucking quote, because I just opened up the manifesto to see if I could find like a passage about her talking about her own sex. But the one I got was like, number 7, the males like death. It excites him sexually, and already dead inside, he wants to die.
Dude, that was my favorite. That was great.
Facts.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That's some big facts.
We could be like fucking who's the guy from Kill Bill? Kerrigan, the guy that
Bill.
Yeah, Bill. Yeah.
No, he's
fucking just every time having sex, just nooses around her neck, baby. That's the way to go. All right, that's the only way.
That's the way to go. Autoerotic asphyxiation.
That men can truly feel alive.
Also, she has this like, well, if women simply left men, refused to have anything to do with any of them, ever, all men, the government and the national economy would collapse completely. And it's like, well, it would work the other way too, real fucking fast.
Yeah.
Like, if all men had nothing to do with women at all, neither. We all live right next to each other. Like, you can't just take 50% of a society and disappear them. Like, that just wouldn't... How would
that
you
would
deal
be the
with
best.
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
best iteration of the Leftovers. Like, just only women. That would be... I want to watch that show now. If you don't know, The Leftovers is like a show where like half the population just vanishes, and then it's like, what do we do now?
Oh, it's like Jimmy Neutron. But instead of taking all the parents, they take all the men.
I like how
men,
mine is
yeah.
like the highbrow fucking HBO TV show, and you're like, oh, that's just like Jimmy Neutron, fucking sick.
Okay, look, HBO is not that different than Nickelodeon.
Whoa.
Right?
That's a radical take.
TV, not highbrow.
Whoa.
Get it out of here.
Whoa, dude. Next thing you're gonna say is
I think I'm
Breaking
gonna have to
Bad.
disavow that real quick, Raven.
I'm gonna write a manifesto real quick.
Not TV.
TV, not cool.
We just
cool
gotta
at
not
all.
associate with people who pay for HBO or Showtime, and then truly we will.
Society would
The economy
collapse.
is in shambles.
If everyone just had to watch Nickelodeon, everything would be better.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't even know what's on fucking Nickelodeon.
Yeah, if people
anymore,
were
man.
just
I don't
watching
know.
Marvel movies, it'd be way better than watching The Sopranos,
Whoa,
Game of Thrones.
whoa! I didn't say that fucking Marvel movies were good. I just said that like HBO's not that big of a deal.
Oh, okay. So you're saying it's
None
one of the good
it's
ones.
good, Aaron.
You got Avatar.
Everything is bad.
Everything is bad.
That's all I gotta say.
So
about all
is she
that.
That's what
alive
that's
today?
what
Is she
Valerie
like
says,
actually
too.
like in prison probably still for shooting Andy Warhol?
No,
or-
she got out. She
got
died in
out?
San Francisco. She apparently had the person who was like the apartment super said he saw like a shit ton more writing in her apartment, but then her mom had all her writings burned. So we didn't want
Classic her mom. Goddamn,
Yeah.
Mrs. Solana.
She's
Solana.
that's a daddy girl move right there.
Solanas.
That's a big
Yeah,
daddy
she died
girl
in like the 80s and the 90s at like 54. Yeah, the
wow,
80s.
Damn, that's young.
Yeah.
She kill herself or something?
No, I forget. You know,
all that anger gave her a fucking heart attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was reading to her. She was like called out of class a couple times for anger issues.
Oh yeah. She fought boys. She beat people up in high school and shit like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, she's kind of rad.
I wonder if that influenced any of a lot of the feminist punk stuff in the 80s had some of that, the girls got to stick together and they would make little groups of people that would go fight off guys.
Yeah, I mean that was a big deal in the Riot Girl shit. Opening up space. They would make sure that there's women in the front. This would be a good
little cross analysis with some Riot Girl stuff.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Although, read some.
Man, Kathleen Hanna, I'm just so disappointed post the It's Her time.
Yeah, I know.
Oh man.
Yeah, really selling out.
Yeah, do you think she would have been for that in the 90s?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe just because it's a woman.
Because at least Val Gal, she has that no, what we don't need. It's not the way to solve gender issues is not to just put women in men's positions. Also, you have to actually attack the problem. She's just making female CEOs doesn't end sexism.
That's true. Yeah.
It's that
because she wants to destroy capitalism too. Essentially, she wants to destroy the commodity.
Thinks that capitalism and commodity and the money system and work all are male
created by men. Yeah.
Well, and in a way, sort of.
Yeah.
But
this book is basically a big old technically right.
Yeah, well, since and it's kind of can be completely circumvented by a systemic analysis. Technically men are the ones who did with big quotes a lot of society and philosophy and science and stuff. Ignoring the fact that women had a hand in a lot of that stuff all along the way, and then also that women's contributions to society in other ways are important too. It just feels very. She's not giving women a lot of credit in this manifesto.
Also, her entire manifesto post-race, which is very progressive, I would say.
Yeah, I wonder if she was a big time racist, just quietly.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like it, at least from the writing. She doesn't say anything about black people or Latinos or anything like that.
Yeah, but maybe she's a class reductionist or a gender reductionist.
Well, she's a gender reductionist.
Yeah, so. I guess you have to be. Well, shit. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
So I feel
have you guys, besides for being taught in class, the only other thing I've heard about this was an episode of American Horror Story. Do you guys have?
Yeah.
Have you guys seen anything like this in modern culture, or is it pretty much just underneath the blanket?
I had never heard of this. I mean, I feel like it sounds kind of familiar because maybe of some Riot Girl stuff, but I don't really know anything. I mean, I haven't heard the name before. I might have heard of SCUM as a group, but it's not really talked about much. Which I feel that would totally, if there was anything, it would be eaten up by all your gamer grifters, cornerings, and geeks and gamers, and all the pseudo Nazis that are fucking. I don't know. Anytime that a woman is scary, though.
The SJW anti-SJWs, if this were to come out, they'd be see?
Yeah, they'd be what? No, this woman thinks
they would be doing
bad.
They would be doing.
I'm a man. I don't think I'm bad. Yeah.
Well, they would be they pull Brianna Wu or Anita Sarkeesian and call in security for themselves too, and it's what the fuck are you doing, dude? You just talk about video games. Come on.
No one has a problem.
Antifa right now is flying in dozens of these manifestos to protest.
they're dropping them.
They're airdropping SCUM manifestos like we dropped propaganda over Cuba.
Hell yeah, dude, Antifa, their B-52 bomber dropping.
Yeah, Antifa in their stolen historical bombs. Oh man, sign me up. Where do I get? I want to get my grandpa's old fucking B-32 and fly around.
Yeah.
Drop SCUM
Maybe
manifestos
they're just fucking
on
paragliding, people. Just dropping rows and rows. Oh man,
that's the Bible in the chat.
We swap it out
right
for industrial societies, though. I like that manifesto better.
We're just dropping that all over Silicon Valley, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get all the tech bros to leave.
All right, tech bros. It's woman time. Pull the lever. Drop all the pink booklets.
Well, I'm trying to think if there's any other like feminist writer that wrote this way, because I know there's this other lady that like believed that there can never be consensual sex between a man and a woman.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's one of the ones they bring up. And well, I mean, they already do. I mean, back in the day.
Like, again, with that, like, technically you can, with some stretching.
A lot of stretching. That's the thing, because that's what the anti-SJW crew would bring up a lot, is, like, these really fringe, like, that lady. I think they probably brought up the SCUM Manifesto and that shit. But it's like, those are, like, so radical that, like, nobody really...
Well, yeah, that even mainstream feminist publications wouldn't publish it.
No.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Or they might, but, like, most of the stuff wouldn't be that. You know, like,
you
look at like scholarly journals, and like there are some funky ones in there, but like the majority of them are pretty standard milquetoast sort of shit, you know. But yeah, the main thing I like is just the tone. It's very fuck you, very very fun.
Yeah. I like her level of just like, no, fuck you, I don't like this. I don't want to be liked. I don't need to be understood by you. This writing is not for you.
Which is probably why she was more like individualist instead of the commune shit too, where it's like, do you realize that hippies were fucking other dudes too at the time, right? Like, it's
and there's plenty of lesbians and they're like pretty laid back about different genders doing different things. I mean, honestly, they were not perfect. Like, you know, there was a lot of the like hippie times of like, you know,
well, the weird sex cult shit too.
Yeah, well, the weird sex cult, but also just like that sort of like early women's liberation stuff where they're like, women can be anything they want and also mothers, right? Or like that sort of like, well, women can do most of the stuff men can. You know, like there was a lot of sort of a lot of kind of half-hearted advocacy for women by men in that sort of movement where they're like, no, man, we've moved past all that sexism stuff. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, just smoke some weed, dude.
And it's like, I don't know if we've really moved past it, but now we're not talking about it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like her disdain for hippies, I guess, it does come out of the time. I wasn't sure when this was written. I didn't do any research, which I probably
1967.
Yeah. So, like, that makes way more sense. I was thinking of, like, 90s. And I was like, she's using grooving a lot. And then I was like, she's talking about grooving hippies a lot. Yeah. Of, like, how bad hippies are. And then I was like, eh. But, yeah, no, her anti-sexer thing, pretty funny. I like it. Yeah. I'm into it. Ridiculous. I think that's one of the most, like, all right, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, don't fucking kid yourself.
Well, I also, in a sense too, when she's like, yeah, men, in order to not deal with like their emotions, they just created a bunch of shit that like is like whatever philosophy, fucking capitalism.
Yeah, like, they're hopped out. In order to not process whatever the world around them, they just fucking invented.
Instead of like the bully beating up a kid going like, I hate you, Dad. It's like he's creating capitalism. Yeah, I hate you, Dad.
Someone's gonna like me because I'm gonna invent stuff.
I'm gonna invent philosophy. I'm just gonna think about nihilism and fucking stoicism.
I did like when she's like, well, obviously men have nothing going on because their greatest philosophical achievement was saying that nothing matters. That's like, oh damn. I mean, pretty much.
I mean, yeah. Look at Ted Kaczynski, man. Exactly.
Hey, that's just her doomer shit coming out. That's all it is.
But like, she doesn't really seem to have like a good
solution
or like,
no, it's just an angry piece.
Yeah I guess manifestos are that like that's the foot in the door.
Well, that's why I say like she's Seth Putnam because he's just angry about shit. He probably has
so if this was the Communist Manifesto, like we gotta find her capital.
Yeah.
You know, like the big book that's got all the ideas.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably like a Gloria Steinem or some other like fucking, you know, biological essentialist or something like that that's a woman.
Yeah. I don't know how fun more serious radical feminism is going to be as a radical
I'm liking
material.
manifestos.
Manifestos are more funny.
Yeah.
It would be like Mein Kampf. That's like a pretty.
That's way too long too.
Yeah. I mean, as like one that's like
listen to the audiobook of probably has an audiobook of that.
Yeah.
Probably. Well,
2 times speed. Listen to it while you're working.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and I'll get bits and
pieces.
Just
don't get caught.
I did get caught recently, but reading wasn't a big deal.
Oh, I thought I just meant with Mein Kampf.
Oh, okay, no.
No, not just don't get caught listening
You
to
don't know the
audiobooks
people
while
I
you're
work with,
working.
dude. That Latino guy, very anti-Semitic. No, just,
Say, like, historically, real anti-Semitic group Colombians.
all right. But I was gonna say, you know, you got any clothing thoughts? Rating 1 out of 10, you know, because that's the greatest way to view political theory.
God damn, I don't even know what I would rate this, because, like, on just, like, being a humorous, breezy read,
Yeah,
it was pretty good. It was all right. On
political viewpoint.
feeling like it made salient points about anything, no. So I'm gonna give this a light to medium gray
A grand
on my black and white scale.
Oh, okay, all right. So white's good. So it's
no, don't assume that.
Oh, you got me. Shit. Okay, shit. That I don't. Okay, so in the middle, you're in the middle essentially.
I'm in the middle on one side more than the other. I haven't decided which side is more.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, I'm middling manifesto here. Not great.
All right. And Chris, what do you think?
I feel bad for her because if only she has heavy born in the wrong generation kind of lifestyle, because if she could have seen today where just men invented computers and video games and decided to digress by themselves from women and become incel, she would probably not have had to shoot Andy Warhol. So I feel bad for her.
No, I mean, so wait, Andy Warhol, what did he, like, artistically? I knew he did a lot of, like, painting brands.
He was obsessed with he was obsessed with like advertising, and he was anti-advertising.
Was he anti-advertising? Okay.
Yeah, I believe he was. Like,
because it makes me wonder. It just, like, by painting a bunch of, like, Campbell's soup cans, it feels just like you just made an advertisement for Campbell's soup.
Well, and he makes a bunch of them, so it's supposed to, like, replicate so he made a bunch of those Campbell's soup ads, so it's supposed to replicate, like, the factory setting that, like, the art is for advertising, that sort of thing, that it's kind of just churned out, like, there isn't any, like, artistic spirit to it when somebody makes an ad for something.
Okay.
And then his art
kind of feel like he made an advertisement.
Sounds like a dumb man thing to put their anger into.
On it. It's like Rage Against the Machine. I mean, it's more obvious when they're talking about it, but like they went on shows that like
yeah, I mean, they're on Sony Records and
they're on Sony Records, played Saturday Night Live and whatnot, and it's like, well, should they not try and get their message out to multiple people, not try and like kind of profit off this a little bit?
Yeah, but I mean, so I don't know. I mean, kind of like the Obey stuff, where I'm like, are you actually saying anything?
That might not be, because Warhol did that. I mean, he was fascinated by advertising. That was his whole deal.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and as an artist, just working through whatever you think is interesting is like really all that you need to do. But yeah, I'm like, so my first thought was when it was like she shot Andy Warhol, I was like, okay, but was that a good thing or a bad thing?
No, it was over perceived injustice.
Okay, because I could see if she was like Andy Warhol, he's a fucking asshole, and he's the guy that represents men. Shoot him.
Nope.
And I was like, no, I would have. I don't know.
Very much the guy that shot John Lennon, kind of.
I didn't explain it all the way, but part of the reason there's a theory. So Andy Warhol made a bunch of like erotic and like pornographic movies and whatnot, and they get shut down by the police. And so there's a rumor that the reason why he didn't fund her play or lost her script was because he thought that she was like a police plant, essentially, giving up this very erotic story.
He's like, no one could be this fucking ridiculous.
Exactly. Which rules.
Yeah.
Warhol was playing 4D chess with everybody.
All right. Well, then I changed my mind. She's great. Is a cop. Solid blue.
Solid blue.
On the fucking scale. So that's my closing thought. We're just under an hour.
Okay.
Aaron, how do you rate?
How am I gonna score? I'm gonna be simple, man. This is like a 6, I'd say. It's funny, but it's fucking stupid, which like almost makes it a 7 because it's so fucking dumb, because it's trolly, and I like that sort of shit. But, like, I guess I'd definitely be the sort of, like, well, I'm a dude, so I don't necessarily get all this, like, frustration and shit that she's feeling, you know?
I mean, I can imagine. I can't fully put myself in those shoes, obviously. But, like, I don't know. I'm just kind of imagining, like, living your whole fucking life where you are different than half the people that you see.
Yeah.
And you're told constantly, or, you know, implicitly or explicitly, that you don't measure up to those people just because of who you are. And you're like, well, fuck you. I'm going to write a book where who you are sucks. Yeah. Suck my fucking balls. Like, hey, fuck you.
Well, I guess in that sense, it's kind of like screaming in the wind, too. Because it's just kind of like,
yeah, it is very... and that's the hard thing, is when you're the underclass group, when you're the object group, and you want to air out that you're mad, all the subject group has to do is go, lol, are you mad?
Yeah, and it's like, yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, I'm fucking mad. And they're like, haha, you're mad. And that's it. Like, you can dismiss her really easily by just being like, dude, she was so fucking mad.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how I'd make this funnier, because it is pretty funny.
Make it maybe more brief.
Yeah, probably more brief would be one. A little bit more absurdist with it as well. It probably would have made it better too.
Yeah.
If it was less like I was feeling her actual political opinions, or if I agreed with some of the stuff, probably would have been better. Like,
or if contextually, like, I knew she was like a feminist and a comedian, but not like
Vermin Supreme. Vermin Supreme's great. Like his political satire is fucking hilarious. It shows things that, like, through his satire that, like, I believe into, like, the ridiculousness
So, like,
of certain laws.
If she wrote something about, like, you know, if she wasn't, like, turfy or biological essentialisty or like, as willing to just shit talk almost every other woman out there, I probably would have vibed with it a little more.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, she made a joke about, you know, it's similar to, like, the dental police with fucking Vermin Supreme, where he really hammers in the thing about, like, we're gonna bite back into our thing, you know, we're gonna get teeth back into our government and whatnot, that sort of thing. We're gonna bare our teeth, and if you don't brush your teeth, the police are gonna come in. If she did something about, like, shaving legs or something like that, and the police
like, if you shave your legs, you will be executed.
You will be executed, yeah, exactly, because we need a clean country that has
If we find out what if you do a thing men want, you're dead.
You're dead.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Or even then, if she's just still attacking it, you know, I couldn't think of one off the top of my head. Something about men.
If she had more snappy one-liners.
Yeah, then, like, really complicated fucking shit. So
yeah, the good. Writing style's whatever. It's not that great.
It's exactly.
It's manifesto core. It's pretty fucking basic stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty good about all that.
Personally, Squeaky Fromm is the radical girl that has my heart, so I can't praise this one too much.
Fuck that is.
You're just an uneducated male. God, just cup in your philosophy.
I have no idea what Squeaky Fromm
Squeaky Fromm was Manson's right-hand girl, all right?
Oh,
yeah, cool. Dude,
she tried to fucking assassinate the president.
Is she the there is no wrong, you do it, you take the child and lead them into the desert, the Acacia Strain song sample fucking one.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And Integrity, I think they did it first by a decade.
Yeah, no, she was the one that was always at she was the one that had sex with the guy at the ranch, like, all the time, and that's how she got the name Squeaky Fromm, because she used to squeak during sex.
No.
Funny. Cool. All right, well, if she wrote a manifesto, we'll read it.
She didn't. She just tried to kill presidents and stuff.
Oh, well, I mean, I appreciate anyone who tries to kill a president for any reason. Yeah. Do you think Wilkes Booth, was it John or Tom Wilkes Booth? John Wilkes Booth, did he write a manifesto?
I think he did.
I would love to do John Wilkes Booth.
I think he at least had some writings about it. So
okay.
We could do that. Yeah.
Cool.
Next time.
We'll put a pin in that one. Yeah, possibly next time. Tune in next time for racism.
Yeah, shakabra, inshallah, brother. Hey.
Enchilada, bros. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Any final? No one plugs anything, right? None of us do anything.
What? No.
Bye.
Subscribe. Bye.
Oh, go out and protest. Protest. Yeah. There we go. Let's plug. Well, never mind.